Hello and welcome back to this Wednesday episode of FreightWaves Now. I'm Anthony Smith here with Tony Mulvey, and we're about to bring on a special guest here. We have Spencer Tenney, who has been long overdue for being on our FreightWaves air. Spencer, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Good to be with you, gentlemen.
So, Spencer, when we're looking at all the recent events, because there's been a lot happening in a short amount of time, glad you're on here to break some of this down. It seems like the merger and acquisition activity just has not stopped. Can you talk about one of the latest stories that you've seen that's popped up lately?
Well, I mean, there's several announcements just from this month. I've got a short list here. We've got Hirschbach acquiring John Christian Trucking, Covenant Transportation with AAT Carrier, Maersk with Pilot Freight, Keenan Advantage with K Limited Carriers, Brown Bear Transportation with Abenaki Carriers, that's one of ours. And of course, the big daddy of them all, the announcement yesterday with Cummins and Meritor, $3.7 billion transaction. So yes, very active in just 4 very short weeks in February.
And can you talk about that Cummins one, because we're chatting about it a little bit earlier on the headlines, but really break down some of what this means for the industry and really how big this deal is?
Well, I think it's significant for several reasons. One, obviously, because of the size, but really what it means for just conceptually what's happening. What are the motivations that are driving both large and small deals? And so when you have a deal like this, and watching the report and an interview with I believe it was Alan Adler, which was a great commentary yesterday on your show, and he made some excellent points about just the motivations of these deals, which was highly complementary between these two deals, different types of technologies. And I think that's the main thing right now. It's the recognition in the market that, especially when it comes to technology, the innovations are happening so fast, and what's required to be competitive is so demanding. It's almost impossible to go this road alone. And so that's why you're seeing these highly strategic transactions that are highly complementary in nature. But really what it's saying is that it's not realistic for us to be the experts in all of these specializations within technology. In order for us to win the future and to be competitive, we've got to lock arms with other companies or acquire the ones that give us the best chance to be competitive. And I think this is a great example of that. Not only does it just enhance all the capabilities for Cummins moving forward, it really puts pressure on the rest of the market to keep pace. And I think that's the issue. It's not just about winning. It's about cutting the legs out from underneath the competition. And that's kind of what Mr. Adler was kind of mentioning or hinting at, was this really puts pressure on some of these other technology-based companies that are still non-revenue based to keep pace. So I think that's the one of the main storylines coming from this deal yesterday. But it's a common theme that we're seeing, not just in the technology part of logistics, but just across all areas of transportation logistics. Those same themes are a huge part of what's driving all this activity.
I think that leads into a great segue here. I mean, you see these smaller companies repositioning themselves for possible acquisition, or are they focused on building their own brand and building and growing themselves?
Well, I think depending on what day of the week it is, it could be either one. And I think that's really the issue right now. I think some people, they can go, there's a group of business owners right now that they get energized with all the stuff, with all the challenges that are happening right now. They see this as their moment to lap the competition. And there's other folks that maybe they've multi-generational, and they know that there's lots of opportunities, but it's just, they have more exciting opportunities in a different space or a different industry. And, that's kind of the storyline of this recent deal that we did. Brown Bear Transportation acquisition of Abenaki Carriers, where we represented the seller. And I think that's another significant storyline, where sellers just looking for an opportunity to find the right partner or torchbearer to help carry the legacy, take care of their employees. And that was a major motivation and key ingredient of what that got that small deal done. And I think we're seeing all kinds of storylines like that across the industry taking place right now.
Spencer, as you just said, there's been tons going on across the industry right now, especially your deal. Also, congrats on that one. Amazing news on that. When we're looking at the industry as a whole, there's been a ton of activity, of course, over the last 2 years, but How much gas is left in the tank here over the next couple of years, or next year, or remainder of 2022? How much many more mergers and acquisitions? Is this going to slow down? Do you see this speeding up? Is it just going to stay on the same clip? What are you expecting here?
I do think well, we're staffing at Tenney Group like it's going to be pedal down for the rest of the year. Certainly for that, I do think that there's a lot of gas left in the tank for 22 and 23. I think after that, for several reasons, I think a lot of the main plays might already be done. I mean, like, you can't replicate what just happened with Cummins and Meritor. Like, that's those types of deals. You're not going to see more and more of those because they're just not available. So what I do think is that for the smaller the smaller companies that have high pressure to compete, you're going to see massive consolidation of those truckload carriers with the 500 to 200 trucks. I think that's where you're going to see a ton of consolidation. And on the logistics side, I think with the technology, all the innovations that are taking place, I think it's just you're going to see a significant amount of moves in that area as well, just because the recognition, if you don't have cutting edge technology or the ability to stay out in front of the competition, it's going to be very difficult in a low margin industry to be the winner. So I think all those things are going to really compress a lot of deal activity in the next 12 to 18 months, say, as interest rates increase and as some of we kind of have some of these larger deals change the competitive landscape. I think you'll see a bit of a normalization in the M&A world. But for now, buckle up.
Yeah, I think you bring up great points there. And to go further, I mean, you look at the amount of money that is being poured into freight tech and transportation just in general. How careful do buyers need to be in this when you're taking on new property and new companies?
I think that there's already a caution just because of how great the demand is. I think buyers are pretty savvy, but again, I think that. I think this is where you see educated and experienced buyers stepping up and making bold moves. Just like in this Cummins and Meritor deal, where they're calculating out that there's 130 million in additional synergies by year 3. Those are the types of calculations that experienced buyers are extracting as part of their due diligence process when whether or not they're going to do a deal. Because without question, even with our annual M&A report, we predicted that this was probably a extremely high, maybe a 10-year high in terms of valuations across both asset light and asset heavy companies. But as long as the synergies are there to make the deal viable, deals are going to get done either way. And I think another thing that we've talked about here is that if you're not doing the deal, you're probably experiencing an expense somewhere because of the lack of not having that synergy in place. So I think it's just a mindset in terms of, do I want to be proactive? Do I want to be on offense, or do I want to be in defense based on all of the movement that's going around me? And I think what we're seeing most buyers say is that I want to control my own destiny and make the moves and be proactive and be first. So I think that's what we're going to see some more of.
And Spencer, with so much activity, are you noticing any saturation of certain types of companies or certain types of freight technology? And if so, what are some of the things that you say, hey, this can really kind of help position them to be a little bit more, stand out-ish, or, help give them a stronger brand potentially?
Honestly, when it comes to the tech, I am cautious. I think because for someone that's not a tech expert, we know it has high influence on deals, but I think it really takes experts to understand what is proprietary and what's not from a valuation standpoint. And so, lots of friends in the industry, Metaphora, formerly Carrier Direct, excellent friends and resources to do a great job of helping people understand the role that plays. And how it might affect value, what's worth creating on your own versus getting something that's already kind of proven and less proprietary. I think those are the issues, and I think that the challenge is for owners is that they do have technology is before they go double down on strategy, make sure that if you're counting on something to be proprietary, make sure that technology actually is proprietary, because innovations are happening so fast, this obsolescence is always a possibility. So I think that's the issue. It's just with the technology changing so fast, what is innovative today might be obsolete tomorrow. And that's the question from a valuation standpoint.
Awesome, Spencer. Well, that was great stuff. So if you're looking for any more information on the Tenney Group, check out their website. I've read that 2022 report, and it's excellent. So feel free to check it out. But right now, we're going to toss it to another quick break.